Here we go. Ready? Oh, who's better than me? Yeah.
Okay, we're back in my shop. It's been like maybe 6 weeks since we went to the RISD Museum. The challenging part of doing this project so far was transferring the information that Steve and I took from the cardboard and getting it on paper and turning it into a pattern, so I could take the pattern, transfer it to the wood, and start cutting apart the wood. And this is the original pattern that we took off the piece on the Pendleton house. And Steve and I and Lance felt like it was too straight coming through the top two drawers, and it's kind of a drastic curve at the third drawer, and we kind of like it coming from the second drawer. So what we have is the pattern of the original. This is the drawing of the pattern of the original, and this is our pattern. Oh, it's on the inside, sorry. Yeah. So this is about what we have. So just to show you how much we changed it, I'm going to mark it in red, see? And what this does, it raises the
outside part.
The outside part of the curve.
Part of the bulge, I
Yeah,
guess.
the outermost part of the bulge. That's good words, buddy.
Thank you.
Not only on the side of it, but on the front of the drawers. So when you look at it from the front, it also is higher up on the drawers. So Steve is just going to take the ball and show us how we change these curves and why. So we have some trammels over here, and Steve's over there. And this is what we did.
So what we were trying to do is make the, can you hand me that? I'll use it as a pointer.
Yeah. Okay.
We tried to make the transitions in the curve, so where the bulge was vertical, where it transitions from an outside curve to an inside curve, concave curve, and have that transition from a curve to the straight line. We tried to make those points happen where the drawer dividers are, because it just seems to make the most visual sense. So it looked like from the patterns we got that a lot of this stuff was originally done with trammels. It matched up with arcs pretty closely. So we just tried that, and it worked pretty well. So we came over here, drew some horizontal, some vertical lines. We took our elevations with the drawer dividers. And
now, were these elevations the same as on the original?
No, we changed those.
We changed them a little bit, right? Yeah, we had to change it because on the original, it had a big block in here. And we really didn't like that block, and I still don't know why it was there, but I just know that it made for a bogus-looking drawer.
We think it probably had to do with making the dovetails longer and therefore a little stronger.
On the side of the case?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See, that makes sense. So what happened was on the original, these two drawers were kind of the same size, right, Steve?
Right.
So we changed it. Steve came up with this really complex way of making the base molding, and we'll get into that later. But this is what we changed. So that's why. I lost my train of thought.
Well, we had to do a couple things. We have to develop the outside curve, which is applied to the case side and the front edge of the case side.
Yeah.
So the profile is the same from the side view and from the front view. And we had to make it so that the inner part, the inner face of the side, lays in a plane, so that your joinery,
so
you have a single reference face.
That's on the inside of the board, like that. So it's nice and straight, right?
But because you have an even thickness down here, and where this thickness comes into the bottom at an angle, it ends up at a different thickness. So you have to account for that. So you want to start from what you want for the outer curve, but figure it out according to the inner curve.
Yeah.
So that sort of complicated it a little bit, but.
Have we lost you guys yet? We've been doing this for weeks, so
we're completely
don't
lost.
Feel like you're lost, guys. Believe me, we're still not totally sure.
So to make the outermost part of the bulge of the side occur in line with this divider, we need the center line to line up with the center of the divider, and then we basically just figured out how much. I think we stayed fairly similar to how much the amount that it curved. I think we kept that the same.
Yeah, the same as this one.
So given the elevation that we were going to have from the base molding to this drawer divider.
Because this line is kind of dictated by the thickness of the board. And
you want to stay, right.
So we want to stay within that 3 inches of the thick wood that we use.
Right. And in a way, get as much curve out of that as you can.
Exactly.
So, So it was a little bit of trial and error, but we know that the center line has to occur across this, on the center line of the divider. So we swung that arc, swung it up a little further, and then again with trial and error, found another center point, because if you kept that same radius going up all the way, it was a little too
Too
tight.
much of a circle. It was way too. It would have been here up here, which
But
is too tight.
If you have the two centers line up in the same line, have a common radius, then you'll have a good transition, have a common tangent point. So then wrote that up there.
Right to the center of the other divider.
And then I don't know if you can make it out, but there's a faint line that goes through
Transfers
here
all the way through
to
here.
find the center line
All the way like down
out
here.
in space over here, so that we can
So we came out here somewhere,
and found another radius
and then we
to swing
arced
this.
that other point.
But again, if they share a common radius line, the transition will be smooth.
So that's how we got this curve here. On the original, it's like almost straight through here. Look at it, right through here, and ours is curved up, you know, almost to this. We try to make this curve stop at the center of this other divider, and then this one here is totally straight. And inside here, the loper, you know, where it pulls out to hold the lid comes in. So this kind of needs to be 90 degrees
Right.
to the floor or whatever.
And this, we tried to make this transition happen right in the center of that divider.
So after we got all that information down on paper, the next step was to transfer it to a pattern. So this is, what is that, 3/8, quarter inch maybe?
1/4 inch Baltic birch.
Baltic birch plywood, and we just spent some time transferring all this information onto this piece of wood, cleaned it up, made it nice and perfect, and then this is what I took over to that whomping piece of wood. This is what it came from. I don't know if you guys remember from the other shoot. This is what we came from. So we tried to get as much curve for this block of wood, you see? By the time you flatten it and cut it and everything else, you know, it gets pretty close. So we took the board, and then we created these right here. And this is the sides of the case. And I've already got it dovetailed, you know, top and bottom. The top isn't that tough to figure out, you know, after you figure, you know, the slope of where the lid is. What was most difficult about this piece so far was the base molding. And Steve has a great explanation on how he came about figuring out the base molding. So as far as this pattern is concerned, you know, we use it for the front and also the
bullseye.
the side of it, right, Steve? Because I roughed out the 3-inch board. I flattened it, rough milled it. I cut it with the dado set on both sides, and I took my plane and I planed this whole surface on the inside and outside. I reviewed the plane before, but I'll just show it to you. Sorry. I forgot this just popped into my head. Do you guys remember this plane? I had to make this plane, and that's how I got all those wicked cool curves. So that was a cool little challenge. And now, once I got it roughed out with all those tools, I just kept working it little by little and getting it to where I felt like it was perfect. Now, you can see that on the inside of it, like the plane of the dovetails and the inside of the writing surface where the pigeonhole is going to be is totally flat. And I left it a little heavy in here because I know that I'm going to have to work this and probably beat it up a little bit when I'm trying to glue it together, and it's going to get dinged and danged by clamps and everything else. So this is about as close as I want to get it. And what was a really neat trick about cutting this pattern and figuring all the wood is this design of the bullseye. Check that bullseye out. And what else, Steve, you want to grab that pattern and
Yeah.
do a little
So
discussion about it?
that achieving that bullseye is something it's predictable if the wood is straight through the board, that there's not much slope, if any.
Slope meaning that the grain's not running out of the edge.
And that the growth rings are in an okay location. What we're hoping for here is growth rings towards the front edge that are at a 45-degree angle
Right here.
to the surface.
See?
And what that means is when you cut a profile into that surface, the lines you get are going to basically mirror that that pattern in the other direction. Where's this one? So that when we cut the shape into the edge of this, which is the same shape as we're cutting into the face of it, we'll get growth rings that will go right along with that. If the board had been flipped around the other way, instead of the bullseye and the curves going along with the edge, we would have had
Like X's.
an X, and the curves of the growth rings would have gone the opposite direction. So it's something that you can, if you know about it, you can pay attention. And so in order to be able to cut this profile, again, which is the same on the front edge, and instead of trying to trace this, you develop a pattern which is three-dimensional, and it's based on the edges of the pattern are based on the outside curve,
Yeah, because it's a left and a right.
because we have a right and a left side.
Right
And then
left and a right, whatever.
you make the inside face of the pattern conform to the same profile, so that that face can be rested on the surface, and then you can trace
You can trace that line.
line on there pretty easily.
I can't see. There you go.
So, which we've already done.
Yeah.
And then again, you can see that if it worked well, these growth ring lines parallel that really nicely.
Yeah.
It's wood, so it's not always perfect. This edge is better than the other edge.
Yeah, the other one was. I think
It was okay, but it was.
Yeah, like when we had left to right, we had to decide, and you see how this is very straight on the back. So that's why before we determined left and right, we really looked at the grain pattern, and this needs to be in the back. But I think the other side's nicer, isn't it? This side?
The front edge?
Yeah.
No. This is the nicest front edge. The other back edge
Yeah.
would have made a nice front edge.
Well, I'm halfway around. Might as well show it to him.
Okay.
I like this side.
This one just was a little.
Yeah, it's too drastic, right?
Yeah, but whatever. It still
Yeah.
goes along with it.
But it's pretty close to the center overall. All right, and I shaped these ones, so Steve's going to be able to shape the drawer fronts. So I think we've explained this pretty well. Now we just need to get into the complexities of the drawer fronts, which will really give you a headache.